everyone. This presentation will allow you to understand what is meant by the term phenomenology study. It will give you an insight of how to go about understanding the types of phenomenological studies, methods used, how data is collected, analyzed, and the format used. At the end of this presentation, you will be able to identify what a phenomenology study is, explain what a phenomenology study is, and the factors that make this qualitative research method one of a kind. The phenomenological history. Edmund Husserl, a German philosopher of 1859 to 1938, developed the philosophical method. However, the origin of phenomenology can be traced all the way back to Kant and Hegel. Husserl named his philosophical method phenomenology, the science of pure phenomena. Vandenberg regards Husserl as the fountainhead of phenomenology in the 20th century. What is phenomenology? Literally, phenomenology is the study of phenomena, appearance of things, or things as they appear in our experience, are the ways we experience things, thus the meanings things have in our experience. Phenomenology studies conscious experience as experience from subjective or a first-person point of view. This field of philosophy is then to be distinguished from and related to the other main fields of philosophy. Phenomenological study is one of the main qualitative research methods. It is a study that attempts to understand people's perceptions and perspectives relative to a particular situation. It is focused on description and interpretation of people's lived experience. Types of phenomenological study. Both descriptive and interpretive phenomenological studies understand the nature or meaning of a particular phenomenon by exploring it through the accounts of those who have experienced it firsthand. They differ in terms of how the findings are generated and used to express knowledge. Descriptive phenomenology prescribes the bracketing of prior knowledge and calls for detailed description of lived experience without ascribing meanings, whereas interpretive phenomenology views the participant and the researcher as a co-creators of interpretation and seeks the embedded meanings in life experience.
Method for data collection. Phenomenological studies use qualitative research to gather data. Data collection can be 1. Direct interaction with individual, which is one-to-one basis. 2. Direct interaction with individual in a group setting. The data collected can be in the forms of A. Interviews with experienced persons in that field of study. B. Field note record data. C. Participant observation. D. Researcher become active in the group studies. E. Action research. F. Focuses meeting. G. Journal and diaries. Analysis of personal text.
Data analysis. The process of data analysis involves the task of contrasting and comparing the final data to determine what patterns, themes, or threads emerge. Under data analysis, the investigator seeks further knowledge about the lived experience in a concise manner. There are four steps under data analysis. Step 1. Identify statements that relate to the topic. Under this step, the researcher would separate relevant information from irrelevant information. The researcher will also break the relevant information into small segments that each reflect a single specific thought. Step 2. Group statements into meaning units. Under this step, the researcher groups the segments into categories that reflect the various aspects or meanings of the phenomenon as it is experienced. Step 3. Seek divergent perspectives. Under this step, the researcher looks and considers the various ways in which different people experiences the phenomenon. Step 4. Under this step, which is the final step, the researcher uses various meanings to identify and develop an overall description of the phenomenon as people typically experiences it. In this step, we have the final result. The final result is a general description of the phenomenon as seen through the eyes of the people who has experienced it firsthand.
Research report format. For this research, there is no specific structure required for the report, so there is no format or no template that researchers should follow whenever writing their report on this research. The second point is present research problem or questions. When the researchers are writing their report, they will have to state what is the problem and the list of possible questions that were asked to carry out the research. The next point is describe methods of data collection. So here, the researchers will use surveys, questionnaires, interviews, observations, or even recordings to understand what someone has experienced. Just to add to this kind of research, researchers may have some limitations, and one of the limitations could be lack of understanding or education of parents about the subject, especially when dealing with children with certain issue. The next point is draw conclusion about the phenomenon. So researchers may make some generalization of what is like from an insider's perspective. So researchers are going to try to understand what the problem is to come up with a conclusion. And the last point is discuss practical implications of your finding. The researchers may infer some things on the problem, or each researcher can have their own conclusion about certain issue. So that is basically how you can write a research report for the phenomenological research. Thank you.